Hi, I'm Jenny Bell with Threads of Hope Counseling in Minnesota. A lot of people I know have little to no idea what insurance terminology means, and they find it all to be just a confusing mess, and at best, they understand a few of the terms. At worst, they cross their fingers and pray that they don't see a bill after the service because they have no clue what their plan actually covers. Please don't bill me. Please don't bill me. Please don't bill me. Today we're going to talk about some of the insurance lingo, everyone's favorite topic. I'm going to help you get some basic understanding and break it down so that you can help your insurance work for you. Most clients I speak to, and frankly most therapists, have little understanding of what insurance lingo actually means. So let's start making it simple. First, deductibles. This is the big scary number that some plans have built into them of the amount you have to pay in before your insurance starts paying their part. A lot of times this is in the thousands. Sometimes they're not that bad. Sometimes they might be like $250. If you have a deductible, it may or may not apply to a number of services. But I want to speak for just a moment to kind of an unspoken myth that a lot of people ascribe to, which is, I need to wait until my deductible is met before I get the services I need. This is just an illogical argument. You are the one paying your deductible, whether you pay it the 1st of January or the end of December. The fact is, it makes a lot more sense if you're going to get any services throughout the year to start early, because then there's more chance that your insurance might pay something. So if you are responsible, for example, for the first $2,000, after you pay that $2,000 is when the insurance starts paying their part. If you wait until December to pay that $2,000, let's say you're holding off on a surgery or something, then your insurance gets off the hook without covering practically anything for you for the whole year. Doesn't make a lot of sense, and yet a lot of people still hold to it. Next, let's talk about copay. Copay is probably the easiest term, the one that people understand the best. This is a flat rate that you pay at each service for that service. So for mental health, that means you go in to see your therapist. If your copay is $20, you pay $20, then your insurance pays their portion of the bill. Coinsurance is not that different from copay. It's just a percentage of the amount that your insurance pays. So, for example, if your insurance pays a 20% coinsurance and their contracted rate with your therapist is $100, that means they would pay $20. More often, it's something very obscure like $20.17. It's really not much different. It's just you most likely will pay it after the fact rather than when you get the service. The contracted rate, also known as the allowable rate, is the rate that the insurance has decided with your provider that service is worth. So for a standard 45-minute therapy session, for example, your therapist might have a listed or billed rate, but being in network means that they have made a special agreement with your insurance to take the lower insurance rate for that service. So if they agreed to take a rate of $115 for an hour-long session, that would be the contracted rate just between your therapist and your insurance. But once that rate is met, either by your payment or by the insurance, it's considered paid in full. So your therapist can't charge you if they're in network for any remaining amount. If you're working with an out-of-network provider, then the therapist has more control over their rate. So if they said, for example, my rate is $150 for a 45-minute session, even if your insurance paid a portion of that, you would be responsible for the difference. That's the main difference between an in-network and out-of-network provider, is they've agreed to your insurance's terms. Prior authorizations are not as common anymore as they used to be, thank goodness. It's just basically an extra hoop that you may have to jump through to get the services you need. A prior authorization might be something for certain plans might have a limit for the number of sessions you can get in a year, for example, and then your therapist might have to jump through an additional hoop just to fill out insurance paperwork if you needed beyond that. So it's not typically too hard to do, and usually it's something that would fall upon your provider to take care of. Service limits, again, tie into that. Some plans like to say there's a limit to how much mental health services you can get. Now, that does not mean that you can't get more. It's one of the insurance plan's ways of trying to control costs. Ultimately, you get to get the services you need, and a good therapist will help to fight and advocate on your behalf to get those services that you need. The defining factor is medical necessity, which is the fancy insurance term for is this medically needed. Now, fun fact, the insurance are not medical providers. They do not get to decide what is clinically appropriate for you. Your therapist or your provider gets to make that decision, and they can support that decision with the insurance. So even if your insurance tells you, we're not sure you need this, remember, they work for you and they are not medical professionals. It is up to you and your medical team to determine what care you need. It's important to remember to advocate for yourself with your insurance. If you still feel confused about some of the lingo that they're using, be sure to ask. And remember that they are there to provide services or to provide coverage for you. Whether you're paying them or whether some other state or federal program is paying them, the insurance is supposed to be paid to help you get the services you need. So make sure to advocate for yourself. And oftentimes a good therapist or provider can help advocate for you too. Ultimately, if you feel like you're not being treated right by your insurance, there are always complaint processes. There are internal processes decided by each insurance that you can go through. So if you feel like you're being mistreated, you can ask one of your insurance representatives to help you walk through the complaint or appeals process. And if you're not satisfied with the results of that, there are other steps you can take, such as reporting your insurance to the insurance commissioner of the state that you reside in. This is always an option because insurances are big and powerful, and sometimes it can feel like they take your power away rather than working for you like they are supposed to do. So I hope you have a little better understanding of some of the basic insurance lingo and don't feel quite as daunted about trying to understand your plan and the coverage that you have. Remember, don't let insurance dictate your mental health care. If you need a little more help getting started, check out our other videos on finding the right therapist and what questions to ask your insurance. Thanks for watching.